Hello. We are reading a childhood favorite of mine called Miss Hickory. This is a nice picture of Miss Hickory with her nature-inspired dress of leaves and a garland of flowers around her hair. Cute little doll made out of twigs. And so far, she has found out that her family has moved away without her, and she has to prepare for the winter. Not only that, the chipmunk took over her house. So let's see how she handles this situation. Her friend Crow is helping her find a new place to stay. Keep on, Crow croaked. Climb along up. She continued to swing, jump, and climb, feeling more adventurous and bold with each step. Up, Miss Hickory climbed into the apple tree until the ground was dizzying to look down upon, and she could see Temple Mountain keeping vigil to the west. How much farther? She called. Here you are, he answered from a perch right beside her. Careful now, easy does it. How's this, dear lady, for your new home? She looked in astonishment at what he pointed out to her, a large and deep nest resting securely in a crotch of the apple tree. Crow knew that it might not suit her at first sight, so he began to argue and boast like a real estate agent. Light and heat free whenever the sun shines. A long lease. Although Robin built it for his own use and planned to stay north this winter, Mr. T. Willard Brown drove him away. Hooks for hanging your clothes. Robin builds carelessly and leaves twigs sticking out. Insulated against the cold with good country mud. Crow's sales talk went on and on, but Miss Hickory had not listened after he had mentioned Mr. T. Willard Brown. No cat, she decided, would drive her out of her home. She balanced on a bough and inspected the empty nest. It was indeed well placed, sheltered and strong. As she peered inside, she saw that the wind had cushioned the empty nest deeply with milkweed down and lined it with rose-brown oak leaves. She stepped inside and sank down deliciously into its warm comfort. Not bad at all, Crow, she admitted. It struck me favorably, he croaked. The nest was so well suited to her size that when she stood up, she had to stretch a bit to pull herself out. When she lay down, as she did now, she was very tired, she was snug and unseen. She was alone in a world that had no need of things she had left behind. I don't know what I shall do here all winter, she said, without a broom in my hands. You'll find plenty to do, he told her. New things to collect, new friends, new places to explore. Well, it's time I was off. I'm greatly obliged to you, Crow. She leaned over the edge of the nest as Crow opened his wings. Don't give it a thought, he said. How long until spring? She ventured to ask. They took the old farmer's almanac to Boston. It doesn't matter, he assured her. Spring always comes. Remember this, though, dear lady. This is important. Get it through your head. Keep your sap running. Crow spread his wings, cawed loudly, and started. Miss Hickory watched the crow cross the old place, the barn, the woods, then disappear as he flew toward the south. There she is in her little nest. Isn't that cute? She looks so prim and proper in her little dress. So cute. Ooh, a pretty leaf. Squirrel finds a live nut. Squirrel had decided that it was high time to begin getting ready for the winter. He had been putting off storing nuts from day to day and all autumn because the bright, brisk days were such a delight to him. He liked to scurry through the fallen leaves in the woods with their rustling like dance music to his little ears. He loved to scamper up the trees to a topmost branch, balance on the end of a bough, swing gaily, then jump to another tree. When these games were done, he would sit in the sunshine on the stone wall, frisking and admiring his beautiful tail. That was what Squirrel was doing one day in late October, sitting on the stones with the sun shining warm on his back and his beautiful tail held high like a plume when he found the peanut. Look at that pretty squirrel. That's such a nice drawing. Beautiful. It had been left there on the stone wall for Chipmunk, was now living in luxury in the corncob house underneath the lilac bush that had once been Miss Hickory's home. Chipmunk was so pleased to have a roof over his head that he seldom visited his old wall. Squirrel held the peanut in his paws. He sniffed it. He rattled it. Just what I need for Sunday dinner next winter, he thought. I will bury it at once. But as quickly as his good intention came, it left him. Too thin a shell to keep, Squirrel decided. I may not see another peanut until spring. And with that, he cracked and ate it. As soon as Squirrel had enjoyed the peanut, his conscience began to trouble him. It is high time that I began to get ready for the winter, he chattered, and off to the woods he scampered, where with no difficulty at all he found a sweet, ripe beechnut. He was no longer hungry, so he dug a deep hole beside the beech tree, buried the nut, and feeling very pleased with himself, ran a little way through the drifts of leaves with quick dancing steps. But Squirrel had not gone far when his stomach began to feel empty. One peanut is nothing for a young man as active as I, he said to himself. I shall dig up that beechnut for a little snack. Alas, when Squirrel retraced his footsteps to a beech tree, dug fast and deep at its roots, he could not find his nut. There were many beech trees in the woods, all of them much alike, and Squirrel had forgotten the one beneath which he had buried the nut. Very poor memory on my part, he said to himself. I must try again. This time Squirrel found a plump acorn good for winter food because of its rich meat. He dug another hole, deeper and close to an oak tree. He buried his acorn, and, in order to make no mistake about finding it, he placed a bright red vine beside the hole for a marker. Then Squirrel was off again, climbing trees, waving his beautiful tail, and feeling satisfied with himself. The exercise gave Squirrel an appetite, and at the end of an hour he was hungry again. That one stale peanut was not a meal for me, he repeated to himself. What I need is a large, meaty acorn rich in vitamins. So Squirrel went back to an oak tree that had a bright red vine at its roots. He dug and dug. He scurried from one spot to another. He excavated here, there, hither and yon. Alas, the woods were full of oak trees with bright red vines trailing on the ground around them. Squirrel had again forgotten where he had buried a nut for his winter store. For now, that's where we will leave it, with the description of this forgetful squirrel burying his nuts here and there, and Miss Hickory settling in her new home. Until next time.